So now that it's back up with the new name, let's start the process of installing Active Directory. So again, when your Server Manager comes up, we can click on Add Roles and Features, click Next. We're going to create a new role. In this particular case, we have the domain controller listed. The nice thing about the Server Manager is you'll be able to connect more servers in here for management purposes. In this particular case, I've only got one server. We're going to install Active Directory. And what's nice is it's going to install the PowerShell as well as the Administrative Center and the Snap-in command line tools. So that's all going to get added by checking that box. In this particular case, that's all I want to install. Click Next, Next, Finish, Install. And it's going to take a few minutes to download the pieces. So when you install an image, a lot of the times you'll be missing the components. So that way Microsoft can save on space, disk space specifically. And you can do some fun things to remove the binary code from your image so that it really slims down. But in this particular case, we're going to install all of those pieces, wait for it to finish, reboot, and then we have to promote the server to the domain controller. So even though those pieces are now installed, that's only part of the job. So what you get here now is how to promote a server. So let's do that. So we can either add a domain controller to existing domain. So this is when you already have an Active Directory set up. You can add it to that setup. It gives you the ability to expand and scale out. You can add a new domain to existing forest, and think of that as your child domains. So if you have corp.com, you can be child.corp.com. But in this particular case, I want to create a new forest, and we're going to call this just test.local. You can do whatever you want here, but that's what we're going to call it so that I know what it is. Click on Next. We'll pick the domain functional levels. Everything else gets set up automatically. And we have to set up a recovery password. So we'll do that. And so you'll want to write that down and know what your recovery password is in case something really bad happens. The NetBIOS name is the short name. It's going to try and grab a NetBIOS name, so it's going to just call it test. So the NetBIOS name is the domain / your username. That's what that's used for. And it's typically used in a Wins environment, which is pretty well deprecated now. If you wanted to change your location of the Active Directory folders, you could do that. The reason why you would do that is to improve performance and reduce space usage on your C drive. So if you have an SSD or something else like that, you can move those folders over. Click Next. Want you to review everything. Click Next again. And it's hopefully going to finish up here in just a second. And it says it passed everything. There are a few warnings in here. I'm not too worried about those at the moment. We'll click Install. And the big gotcha here is if you go into your network settings, Ethernet details, you'll have an IP address from your network, but you can make this static so that way it never changes. So in this particular case, gotta get your num block on. 192.168.12. 194, 255, default gateway. Oh, too slow. All right, let's go. It's going to hopefully reboot here quickly. And if we look while that's booting up, so this disk is now 3.5 gigs. So still pretty small, but much smaller than if you were to create a new disk every single time. Still booting up, so we'll be patient. And what you're going to find is that local admin password and local username, the administrator that you had before, now become a domain administrator and a domain account. So instead of, and essentially the domain controller doesn't have a local administrator anymore. You can create a local account on it, but the local administrator is now your administrator in the domain. So we'll continue to be patient. So what it's doing now is grabbing all of the security policies. So you can see test/administrator, that is your Active Directory, and then that same password that you had before should work. And like I said, for simplicity, we want to make sure that this IP address is static. Not to mention, we need to make sure that, so it set the loopback address, so the 127.0.0.1 address is essentially the local IP of that server. So the server is answering its own DNS questions. So we'll put in the static IP. Click OK, OK. It's going to take a second. OK, close, close. And so now if we type in Active Directory, we have users and computers, and we have test.local. You have your default users. There's the administrator, and you can go in here and create a new organizational unit. We'll call it users and leave that checked. Oops, user, how about accounts? Yeah, so you can't have users, that one already exists. And you can see that this is an organizational unit with that icon. Users can't have policies assigned to them, so in here we can't assign group policies, where accounts you can. All right, thank you, and we'll catch you next time.